Are we gathering? They're trying to tell me I got poor wireless connection. Everybody's always criticizing, man. All right, here we go. The Last Jedi. Everyone all weekend on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook going, what the fuck? Haven't you seen The Last Jedi? Haven't you talked about it yet? Are you going to fucking talk about it? Of course I'm going to talk about it. I was busy this weekend. I was out with Jay in Colorado. We were doing a tour for the last 10 days and stuff. So I saw the movie on Friday, sat twice. Saturday, we had a show to do. Sunday, I was traveling home and stuff. Now I'm home. I can breathe. I put together all my thoughts, and I'm ready. I'm ready, kids. I'm ready to go over The Last Jedi. Now, people are like, what'd you think? Did you like it? It's no easy answer. Well, yeah, there is an easy answer. Of course I liked it. And there's definitely some stuff that we should discuss. Just let me set the stage for you. I saw Last Jedi in Durango, Colorado, in a gorgeous little 2-screener theater, built before I was even born and stuff like that. So, they had new seats, pushback seats in it, but it was the right environment. Instead of going to like a multiplex or something like that, when I first saw Star Wars, it was on a 2-screener in New Jersey in Hazlitt, theater that don't exist anymore. Old in Airport Plaza, 2-screener. So, I sat down, I said, this is the right relationship. This is going to be good to watch this in here. I was blazed, of course, before I went into the theaters, Colorado. But let's be honest, no matter where I was going to be blazed. But there I was in a nice, fantastic place to receive this picture, this motion picture. Directed by Rian Johnson, who I've spoken to on Smoothie Makers, an old podcast we used to do. Lovely guy. He did Looper, man, which is a fantastic fucking movie, as well as Brick. Ryan was given the second of the new Star Wars movies following J.J. Abrams. J.J., as we now know, is doing the third one. And he, had big shoes to fill because J.J. made The Force Awakens. Force Awakens, reintroduced Star Wars to a whole new generation. People were largely happy. It made a fuck ton of money. It's tough to follow that, man. Tough second act to follow. So, did he do it? Yes. Is there stuff that I wish he hadn't done? Of course. There usually is that in almost every movie. So I'm going to review the movie. And then when it comes time, when I deviate from the film, I'm not saying this is what they should have done or they fucked this up. Hey man, they made choices in their storytelling. I like a lot of them. Some of them I'm baffled by. But overall, I respect their vision. When I jump at Ryan's vision and all of Lucasfilm, and Ryan had a co-writer as well, I think, on the script. That being said, periodically we'll hit things where I'll tell you, now if I was making a Star Wars movie, and believe me, nobody's ever going to let me make a Star Wars movie. Those are the things, these are most of the things that I had a tough time with are things that I personally would have changed in my own version of a Star Wars movie, as I'm sure a lot of folks feel at home. I saw a lot of people on the internet getting outraged about certain stuff toward the end of the movie. We'll get there. That's all of us kind of reacted to the movie we wanted to see. The one really great thing I could say about Last Jedi is didn't know where it was going. Every time I was just like, well, once or twice you could kind of guess right before something was going to happen. But none of the things that I thought was going to happen happened. And, as an audience member, isn't that what you pay for? You go to the movie to be surprised as opposed to be like, I know this. So I was delighted on that level. But I'll tell you about I saw the movie twice. I wrote down a fuck ton of notes, so I'm going to be reading the notes and stuff like that. But let's dive into it. My first viewing was at noon. My second viewing by myself. There were other people in the theater, but not many. Which is not a criticism of the movie or saying how it did or anything. Obviously, it did very fucking well this weekend. It was early for some cats in Durango. Not for me, though. I was up at 9 o'clock going, where can we see this? Then I went and saw it again at 7 o'clock at the same theater with Mr. Jason Mewes, sitting beside me to my left. His first viewing. So here we go. That all being said, that sets the stage. I wrote down, so I'm going to go off the notes I wrote. And there's a fuck ton of notes, kids. Let me just tell you how many pages there are so you could settle in. Looks like, I don't know, they're not numbered, but it looks like a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, shit, at least 7, 8 pages of notes. Not single space. Here we go. Star Wars The Last Jedi. Opening battle sequence. Loved it. Oh my Lord, I loved it. This was actually one of my favorite battles I've ever seen in a Star Wars movie. And for one, I'm just as a fan of the franchise, a fan of anything, I'm somebody who likes being stories told to them. just show me something I haven't seen before. That's all I'm looking for, man. Something I'm like, wow. And, you know, I've seen a lot of Star Wars movies. Been seeing them since I was 7 years old back in 1977. So if you could show me something new, you got my loyalty, man. Like, remember we all saw Rogue One, and the last minute we saw something completely fucking new. A version of Darth Vader that we'd never seen before in our lives, man. Like, forever they'll hold my heart because of that 1 minute. They showed me something new, man. Something, and I was familiar with Star Wars, and still I was like, this is fucking brand new. So in this scene, it's very small, but in this scene, they showed me something new, which I absolutely love. Poe takes out the last gun and then skids to a halt in his X-Wing by jamming the throttle back, and the X-Wing goes, ooh, so he comes around and shit. It's tiny. Little things like that make me go like, pa-ting, my nipples get all hard. Now, some people out there who don't like this movie be like, oh, he's a fucking fanboy. Yes, yeah, I'm a fanboy. I don't know if you've seen those movies and whatnot we make lots of references. I literally eat Star Wars food, pop chips making BB-8 fucking snacks and shit like that. I had a big Han Solo and Carbonite here in the house when I was younger. I got Star Wars all over the place. I'm in the bag for this shit. So you can't be like, oh, fucking, he's a fan. Yes, of course I'm a fan. And as a fan, you show me something new like Poe fucking skidding out and bringing that X-Wing around. Right then and there. I swear to God, it was one of the best. Watching this movie the first time was one of the best times I've had in a movie theater all year, if not in the last 10 years. I was on the edge of my seat. I was smiling. I was crying. Yes, I saw an article online that said, did Kevin Smith cry at Last Jedi? He did many times. I was thrilled. I had a layback seat and I had to keep bringing it forward because I was like, no, and kind of getting up in the face of the movie. Not angrily, but just like I was on the edge of my seat. So that moment, you got to remember, I just smoked a joint, just walked into the theater. I was snack free and shit like that. It just hit me. So I'm like, I've never seen that. Like, good for you, Rye, and your friends and stuff. You showed me something fucking badass and something new. Anyway, the whole battle, let me write down. Opening battle sequence, as the Resistance evacuates the base we saw in The Force Awakens, the First Order shows up to blast it to hell. Now, in this movie, there are a series. I think Rian Johnson is a really nice guy, and I know he is. I sat here and talked to him and shit. And I don't think he was in any way. I don't want anyone to misconstrue this. I don't think he was attacking JJ or Force Awakens, but there are plenty of what I like to call "fuck you, JJ" moments in this movie where it seems like the work that was done in Force Awakens just got fucking undone in one very quick swoop by Ryan. So again, I'm not saying Ryan says "fuck you" to JJ for real. It's a joke. But there are fuck you JJ moments in this movie. The first one is they blow that base to shit, man. That's the base that we saw on Force Awakens where everybody was and where they came back after Han got killed and shit like that. So right off the top of this movie, it's like, fuck you, JJ. There goes your base. And the base goes away. Again, I don't think that's what Rian Johnson was saying, but it was weird. They really fucking disassembled a lot of shit in this movie. Okay. Fantastic space battle. That's what I wrote down. One of the best in Star Wars. Poe faces down Hux. And right away, we get a flavor of The Last Jedi. It's so weird. They talked about like they got rid of the guys that were directing the young Han Solo movie because they're like, hey man, they're too jokey and stuff. They went for broke with the jokes in Last Jedi. And I, for one, was on board. I was not sitting there going, this is out of place. When Poe is gone, like, I'm holding for Hux, and Hux gives his we'll fucking blow you out of the sky. We're going to fucking do this. We'll wipe your ass over the galaxy. We're the First Order. And then he's like still holding for Admiral Hux. Funny, man. I'm sitting there immediately laughing going, this is new. What a weird direction to take. It's like the closest thing to levity in the first trilogy in the opening was, let's see, R2-D2 and C-3PO on Tatooine, going to Jabba's palace and having little arguments with each other and getting an argument with the door and meeting Gamorrean guards and Bib Fortuna and shit like that. So this was a legit, like, funny opening, man. Like, Poe is, they added more, they gave him more time, like more to his character. And you're like, I like this guy. He's a lovable rogue and stuff. At least in the beginning and shit. Later on, you're like, what the fuck, Poe? So in any event, I love that scene. Poe, as I said, throwing his fucking X-Wing in reverse, skidding out. It's little things for me, man. The bombers versus the dreadnought sequence, where the bombers bombed out. I've never seen these bombers before. It was awesome. I was like, right on. It seemed a shame that so many of them just blew up into each other and shit like that. But that happens when you war in the stars. That'll happen in the Star War. So one bomber left. I think the lady who was flying or was in charge of it, Rose's sister. I think her name was Paige. I don't know. They said it fast. They have this whole like moment, like where the ship's bombers blow up and shit. She's the last bomb, and they're like, "Fucking drop your bombs if you can." And the guy who's supposed to drop the bombs, the detonator, he can't fucking. He's out cold, so she got to climb up these long steps to get it and stuff. And it's a wonderful little allegory for the one. The war comes down to one person. You hear many of these stories from old war movies and from the actual wars that have happened in real life and stuff. Sometimes it comes down to the hands of one person, one lone person, the whole war. And taking out this dreadnought, which is Poe's big dream, this big bomber that could that's just bam, taking out the base down below on JJ planet, Force Awakens planet. Poe's like, we gotta take this fucker out. And Princess Leia's like, no, get back to the base. I fucking told you no. And he's like, nah, and he turns his shit off and whatnot because he wants to take the base. If we take this bomber out, this is a base killer or something like that, or fucking resistance killer. Like, we take it out, man. We're fucking taking care of the future. So he forgets his commander, General Leia's orders, and he goes for, the kill and stuff. So in going for the kill, they clear the path for the bombers. The bombers in the middle of the fighting, and the TIE fighter hits, one, and boom, it goes up, and it takes out like 4 others and shit. All the bombers going to hell without ever dropping the bombs on the dreadnought. So it's left up to this woman, Paige, and she climbs up the stairs, and she gets the detonator, and the detonator, no, she falls back, this big blast, and she falls down below. And so the detonator's still up top. And in a very, I'm sure it's certainly not taken from this, so please don't write Kevin Smith thinks they stole. No, but in a very Silent Bob and Mallrats type moment, she's laying on the ground, she kind of concentrates, holds her necklace, maybe she's suggestive of using the Force or whatever, and then, kicks the pole, and finally the detonator falls down. She catches it, and then bam, she releases the bombs. It's cool, I'd never seen anything like that before in a Star Wars movie. Bombs away, laser bombs and shit, just bam. And takes out the dreadnought. It was a huge celebration because it's like bigger than the Executioner, the fucking Darth Vader's ship and shit, the Emperor's ship, whatever the fuck, in Return of the Jedi and Empire. So, big sequence, man, really fucking cool. And then Paige, of course, if that's her name, Rose's sister, let's just call her that. She goes up and smoke, place blows up. She gets killed. She goes out. She's holding on to half her necklace. Clearly, you're like, we're going to see the other half sooner or later, and we do later on. Okay. After that, Finn wakes up after getting sliced up the back in Force Awakens, man. He reconnects with Poe, who gets slapped and demoted by General Leia. She's like, fuck off, you disobeyed orders. And she demotes his fucking ass. Then Finn asks Poe, hey man, where's Rey? And that's when we finally go looking on the Rey story. Last time we saw Rey, she was on the island. She was looking for Luke Skywalker. She went to Luke Skywalker Island, Skyland. She went to the Skywalker Island, Skyland, if you will. And she's on Skyland, and she's like, yeah, here's your fucking dick back. Join the Star War, motherfucker. And that's how the movie ended. This is like the fucking felt like fuck you, JJ moment in the movie where the ending of Force Awakens is predicated on this one shot of Rey handing Luke his lightsaber back. Here's your metal dick. Fucking fight. And, Mark Hamill, who's wonderful in the movie, tremendous. It was so nice to see him back. I mean, we saw him for a brief moment in the last one. You got to remember, this is the first time we've seen Luke Skywalker in earnest for a lot of screen time since Return of the Jedi. I was fucking thrilled, and I know the guy in real life, so I was thrilled for him, and just like, hey, fucking, I like this story. But as a fan going back, I was just like, there he is. It's Luke. Yes, he looks like Grizzly Adams now, but we're going to spend some time hearing from old Luke Skywalker and stuff, who's now like old like Ben Kenobi was old. So I was so in the tank for this. So we meet him, and instead of like, oh my God, here's my dick back and time to fucking fight the Star War, he just throws the lightsaber over his shoulder, very cavalier, man. Felt like a real big fuck you, JJ moment. Again, not like seriously like we hate JJ, but this movie, Last Jedi, dismantles a bunch of things from Force Awakens, and some could make the argument dismantles things going further back to George Lucas land. The Force is now something completely different, and I'm actually down with it. All right, so let's see. On Octu, that's the name of the island, Skyland, we'll call it. Skywalker Island, Skyland. Luke wants no part of these sequels, man. He's like, fuck this. You go back home and you tell people I'm done, fucking finished, and shit like that. And so he goes and hides in a little hut, which I called Jabba when I watched it. He's living in Jabba the Hutt. And then he event, bad pun. Rey wants him to come back and fight in the Star War, but Luke says, what do you think's going to happen, man? You think I'm going to face down the First Order with a laser sword? And I got to be honest with you, I bumped into that in a weird way. This is one of those moments where if I was making this movie, when laser sword? Nobody's ever said that in the Star Wars universe, I don't think. Laser sword was the name of the off-brand lightsaber that when your mom was like, I'm not buying you that Kenner lightsaber, it's $10. You can have the laser sword brand. It was just a flashlight with a plastic tube on it and shit, cost like $2. So it was very weird to hear that term. I bumped into that. Not in a way where I was like, fuck this movie, but I was like, Luke Skywalker just said laser sword? He called it the generic brand? Like, lightsaber's the brand name. It's like Band-Aid. Lightsaber, Band-Aid. We all know it's a laser sword, technically. But lightsaber is its brand name, particularly in the Star Wars universe. So to hear Luke Skywalker refer to his lightsaber, our lightsaber, as a laser sword, even though, I get it. He's like, I'm done with this shit. I'm over the fucking Star Wars. Leave me alone. I want to fucking milk sea cows and fucking eat fish. I get it. Hearing him say laser sword was like just strange to me. It was as if Rey was like, I'm cut. And Luke was like, I will get you an adhesive strip, instead of saying Band-Aid. It was just a very weird moment. Didn't ruin the movie, but I was like, laser sword. Anyway, back to this, man. That's when Chewie busts in, man. Comes through the door and shit. And like, that door really could have hit Luke. I was saying, well, maybe not because he's the Force, but I was like, that was close, Chewie. And so Luke is like, Chewie, what are you doing here and stuff? And he's like, hey, man, where's, Rey's like, we're here in the Falcon. We're coming to take you back to the Star Wars, your sister. And he goes, what? Wait, the Falcon's here. Where's Han? And right then and there, you're like, here we go. Man, I'm going to fucking tell. You know why he's going to get on that fucking plane? He's going to find out his bestie got killed by his nephew, by his bestie's own son. And he's going to be like, I will avenge thee. Or, bring him to justice or fucking bring him back to the light side. Whatever the fuck. But you would imagine that's the scene, man. Like, you're going to hear Luke Skywalker. You're going to watch Luke Skywalker have to hear about the death of Han Solo from this woman he just met, Rey, and from Chewie. And he can understand Chewie. Chewie's like, he's like, I know. So he could clearly understand Wookiee. So, I mean, again, what they did in the movie is fine. They set it up. It's a great cross-cut moment where, he goes, wait a second, where's Han? And then you cross-cut to Kylo Ren, the Han killer, man, and you follow his story. But if I was making the Star Wars, and nobody, again, I'm not saying mine would be better. This is my own personal fucking Last Jedi, Kev's Last Jedi. I might have gone for it, man. I might have had Chewie do a whole monologue, like, just tell the fucking story of Han Solo getting killed by his own son and getting emotional. Remember, like, fucking Chewie on Empire was like, when they closed the doors and shit, when they left Han outside. So, I don't know, it was just something I thought about, like, stoning later on. I was like, that would have been badass to watch a fucking Wookiee monologue. People might have laughed in the audience, but if he's emotive enough and you put in that fucking John Williams score and shit, lots of strings, that's not jerking off, that's strings. And fucking, like, you're seeing, and that gives Marc a chance to, like, fucking emote, because he's the only guy who could understand the fucking Wookiee. We can't in the audience. But it would have to play out in Marc's performance, and watch him, like, suddenly well up and fucking weep as he's hearing a Wookiee tell him the story of what happened to his bestie and the Wookiee's bestie. Anyway, fuck my version. They didn't do that. They cross-cut right over to Kylo Ren. So we get into the Kylo Ren story. And let's see. Kylo Ren gets bitch slapped by Snoke in the red room. In the red room with black flooring. Surrounded by red guards, man. And the fucking Snoke is dressed in gold lame. I don't know why. Odd choice, but it was totally fine. But I was like, that's weird. Never seen much gold in this picture. Except gold leaders standing by. We cross-cut over to there, and Snoke is telling fucking Kylo Ren, you're an emo bitch, and you're a fucking boy in a mosque. And that fucking hit him hard and shit. And that leads, so Kylo fucking busts out of there, and he's like, fuck this, and he gets into an elevator and destroys the Kylo Ren mask. Equivalent to Anakin Skywalker ripping off his helmet and then breaking that up, being, I'm done with this shit, deal with this. Granted, Adam Driver is far more attractive as Kylo Ren, as, old, burnt, scarred up British actor who played, Anakin Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, maybe was, whatever. But, Darth Vader mask's a cool image. I understand what they did, where they're like, let's get Kylo out of this fucking mask. Gives, the actor, like, look at my face and shit, gives him a chance to emote. And I like this dude. I never really saw that TV show that he was on. So fucking, he's a discovery to me. I'm like, this guy's dope. They do have him shirtless in the movie at one point. That was a big discovery as well. But in any event, so he's all mad. Third fuck you JJ moment feels like, and maybe it's not fuck you JJ, maybe fuck you Force Awakens. The FYFA moment, if you will. Kylo Ren smashes his mask. Like, all the marketing and the toys is Kylo Ren with a mask in the last movie and stuff. And he's like, I'm Junior Darth Vader, so I wear this mask. And, Ryan's like, no, you're not. He smashes the fucking... Ryan writes that he smashes the mask. Guess what? Kylo Ren gets rid of his fucking mask. So suddenly he's maskless. Another fuck you, Force Awakens moment. Okay, let's see. What else do I got? Back to the planet, to Skyland, to Luke Island. Luke still won't deal with Rey, who follows him around on the island average day, milking space walruses, catching fish. We meet the Porgs, man, which are neither Ewoks nor Jar Jar. I thought they were lovely. They, a lot of people online were like, these fucking Porgs better not ruin the movie. I thought they were used to the perfect extent. They were just background coloring, man. Like, hey, on this island, they got these fucking penguin-looking birds, big eyes and shit. And when they did use them, I thought they used them effectively. I know a lot of people saw the trailer, and when Chewie's like, and the Falcon, the Porg's like, everyone's like, fuck this. But I honestly thought the Porgs worked out, man. I thought they were good inclusion, particularly because it led to like one of the funniest moments in any Star Wars movie I've ever seen, which we'll get to later on. Okay. Fuck it, we'll get to it now. Remember, like, at one point in the movie, Chewie's going to eat a fucking, porg. He grabbed a porg and cooked it. They didn't show that part. But as he's about to eat it, it looks like a little cooked chicken, rotisserie chicken. All these porgs are staring at him, like, with these horrified eyes and shit, like, no. And he's like, and they all scatter. And then one is still hanging out and shit. And, like, make up the movie you want in your head. But in my mind, I'm like, it's his mother. Chewie's about to eat his roasted mother. And the porg is like, boo, 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 boo. So somehow, I think that in my movie, they're the ones that became friends later on, because Chewie's like, sorry. Chewie didn't eat the thing, though. Chewie goes vegan in this movie, I believe. Very forward thinking and stuff. But Porgs were worth it just for that alone. I also thought they were just cute. And again, they were not invasive. It's not like the Porgs saved the fucking third act. They saved that for the Silver Foxes. Okay, here we go. Luke boards the Falcon. He finally, after Rey's bugging him for a few days, like, train me, come back, whatever the fuck. He's like, would you fuck off? He goes out in the cover of night while Chewie's trying to eat porgs and not succeeding. And he goes on to the Falcon. We've seen this moment from the trailer, and it's beautiful. Like, I start crying in that moment. I'm like, oh my God, he's home. Look at him. And he's touching the dice. Like, I'm getting emotional thinking about it now. It was beautiful. But they did it one better. Because I was wondering, like, what is that moment when I saw the trailer? Is he getting on the Falcon for the first time? They about to leave the island and shit? But he was looking around, and then he bumps into R2-D2. And I honestly feel like, and I'll probably fucking cry talking about it, this may be the emotional highlight of the movie. I'll try to get through this without getting weppy, but all of us, have gone on this adventure for, 40 years? I've been doing this shit since I was 7 years old talking about Star Wars. For one reason only, because because George Lucas had a good idea. But really, if you look at it through the movie, we went on this adventure because a boy on a farm met a robot that he wasn't supposed to meet, who was there by total fucking accident or chance, unless, the Force, but I don't think so. The droids escape from the Rebel blockade runner, land on Tatooine, get picked up by Jawas, this is all in Star Wars, of course. And then Luke and his uncle, go buy some fucking droids, and they want one of them. They don't even try to buy R2-D2. They try to buy R5-D4, and he fucking blows up and shit. And so then he's like, well, fucking take this one. We're on this journey, all of us, because of that little droid. And I know it's very fashionable now to be like, hey, BB-8 rocks and fucking R2-D2 socks, because he's old school and shit. But it all begins with him. Like, R2-D2 is kind of Luke's heart. Don't fucking embarrass me. It was a really big moment for me. So he talks to R2-D2, and, R2-D2, like, just like I was saying, oh my God, Chewie could have told fucking Luke the story. They did to kind of do that scene with R2-D2, where Luke is talking to R2, and he's like, no, I'm not going back, man. There's nothing in the world that anybody could do to make me go back. And R2 projects the image, the message. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm fucking 47. This is gonna make me cry. R2-D2 projects the message that Luke saw as a youngster. Well, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, your only hope. Oh, in the theater, dude, I was worse than this. I was bawling, wiping my eyes and my fucking pop chips and shit. That was perfection. That was so good. I mean, fuck, like, callback. Naturally, I'm a fan, so I like any reference to the old movies. But that was so well written, man. To bring that back in, holy fucking shit. And, Luke was just like, man, that's low blow. You had to pull that shit out. Again, we're only on this adventure because that little droid showed him that fucking video, and for them to bring it back, that was excellent. Just so excellent. There he is looking at, last time he saw that video, she was some space princess, and he was in fucking Farmville, and he's like, oh my God, I could fucking go up to outer space and join the Star War and shit like that. Fight with the rebels against the Empire. Now he's looking at this video as an old man, and that's his sister. And he's gone on this incredible 40-year journey and become a Jedi fucking master because of that video. Excellent writing. Pulling that out, fucking perfection. I absolutely love that. Let's see. The idea of tracking a ship through hyperspace, through the jump, through a light speed jump, that's new. They've never done that before. That leaves the Resistance no choice but to lead the First Order on a slow chase across the galaxy until they run out of gas. If somebody had once told me the plot of the next Star Wars movie would be a very slow freeway chase, I'd be like, no, that sounds like something I'd write while I'm high. No, they did it. And there's nothing wrong with it, but I was like, that's interesting. Never thought I'd see that in a Star Wars movie. It did remind me of something, though. And I don't think it's taken from this at all. But I remember there was an episode of Battlestar Galactica, the new one, where they had to keep jumping like every 20 minutes or every hour because the Cylons had locked onto them. And so everywhere they jump, boom, the Cylons would be behind them. They'd have to keep fucking jumping. They would run out of energy. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying they took that. I was just remembering that. It reminded me of that a little bit. But anyway, I went with it. I didn't mind it. I was like, right on. They got they're juggling a lot of balls in this movie. And I don't mean that in a dirty way. And a lot of different storylines. So one of the storylines is this, man. Are they going to run out of gas and shit like that? Weird, but I'll take it. And it's well done, well made. Okay. Kylo Ren attacks the Resistance fleet after he gets bitched out by Snoke. He's like, fuck you, get my ship. And he's like, we know where the fucking Resistance is. I'm going to kill them all right now because I'm no boy in a mosque. And so he fucking jumps on his ship. He's got TIE fighters fucking with him and shit. He's got like a Darth Vader looking TIE fighter. He is the ultimate Darth Vader fanboy. And you see the moment from the trailer where like, don't fucking tell anybody. Mind you, all of this, of course, is spoilers. Hopefully everyone realized this is spoilers. I know I'm a little deep into it to say spoilers, but 27 minutes in, fucking heavy spoilers. So he's like, do I do it? And they cut to Leia, and she senses maybe. They don't direct connect him, but it looks like she senses that he's out there, and she's wondering if he's going to shoot. Wasn't the exact read of it, but just like, they cross-cut between them, and he's like, do I do it? And then you see his finger go down, and then he's like, fuck it, and he don't do it. And then, boom, 2 fucking shots come from the side, his sides, his 2 wingmen. They were like, fuck, she ain't my mother, bitch. And they fucking blow the ship to Kingdom Come. And you watch Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, get blown out into fucking space. And I literally did this shit. I like leaned all the way forward, was like, this is how it's going to happen? Like, sadly, we lost Carrie. So they had to adjust the storyline somehow because they said Princess Leia wouldn't necessarily be in the next Star Wars movie. And I said, this is bold because this was like the first half hour of the movie. I said, oh my Lord. And then something happened which seemed to piss off a lot of people on the internet. I went with it because I was just thrilled as an old-timey Star Wars fan who saw Return of the Jedi in a theater. And, Yoda said there, at the end of Empire, there's another. And then he fucking finds out that it's his sister. We never seen Princess Leia, General Leia Organa, get to use the Force necessarily. She could hear Luke and stuff, connect with Luke. At the end of Empire, a little bit in Jedi, I think, if I remember correctly. But this was, we got to watch Leia, Princess Leia, my first love, save herself with the fucking Force. Now, she had to turn into Space Ghost and fly through outer space to do it. And that seems to have pissed off a great deal of the audience. There were some cats who were like, Leia can't do that. The Force can't do that. Well, I mean, let's be honest. The Force does whatever whoever writes and directs this shit each year says it does. So now the Force can give you a little force field and you could breathe, kind of like in Guardians of the Galaxy when Peter gets that thing. And remember, Yondu puts it on him and he's like, no! So there was an outer space near-death scene that might have rivaled that, but she saved herself. She comes flying through outer space and shit in her gown. And, again, I was like, hey, man, Princess Leia using the Force is pretty badass. Would I have done the space thing? Likely not. But, I was there. But I also see the consternation online with like, you fucking jerk, she spacewalked. Hey, man, like, there's a lot of wonderful shit in this movie. Can't quibble with it all. Okay, so let's see. Finn wants to get off the ship. and he finds Rey, so he can find Rey. So he uses Leia as tracker. Leia gave Rey a tracker, a space tracker. And he found it after the Space Leia came back and was like, oh, and they put her in sick bay. He found the tracker on the ground, so he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna fucking track down Rey. Remember, that's his buddy. They came together. Finn is the stormtrooper's like, fuck this. And he didn't mean to be her hero. He's just a guy, he's technically a fucking deserter of the First Order and stuff. And it worked out on Starkiller Base. And he's something of a rock star, as we find out, because he's trying to leave. He's trying to take that tracker, get in an escape pod, and he meets this woman named Rose. Her sister Paige was involved, I think her name was Paige, was involved in the fucking Star War with the bombs and shit. So she's like, oh my God, it's you. You're Finn. Everybody knows you. Like he's fucking famous because of what he did with the Empire and shit, because he left them. She's like, you're the stormtrooper that left and you helped bring down Starkiller Base. It's a very fun scene. Not like goofy, but it's sweet. Like he's famous in their world. And she's like, wow. And then she kind of pieces together that he's trying to fucking escape an escape pod and shit like that. A deserter. And so she shocks him out because she had said, like, I had to take out a few people who were trying to jump ship. She realizes that this guy, her hero, is actually one of them and shit. And then, she's about to turn him into the brig or whatever, space jail. And, they have this conversation about, hey, man, how are they tracking us in space? That shit can't be done. And she's like, unless it was done on a suborbital wave. And, the two brains, so they start thinking the same. And they're like, oh, shit, I bet you we could fucking stop this tracking. We just need to go tell somebody and shit like that. So they wind up teaming up, becoming pals. And so they're like, let's go fucking talk to somebody. All we need to do is get on Snoke's ship, as if it's like that fucking simple. They tell Poe, and then all three of them do a FaceTime with Maz Kanata, who's busy elsewhere. She turns him on to a guy on Canto Bight, I think it is, casino planet that looks like Monaco. If you don't know what Monaco is, it looks like Iron Man 2 in the beginning when Whiplash shows up. That's how I know shit. I've never been to Monaco, but I've seen it in movies, including Iron Man 2. Okay, so there's a very funny spin on the, you'll never see a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. As they're coming into Canto Bight, Rose is just like, it's filled with the worst kind of people. And they cut to rich people, which I thought was kind of funny, man. Like people who are obviously well-to-do and they're in Star Wars fucking uniforms and makeup and shit like that. So it's like the cantina scene in Star Wars, but with fucking rich people instead of, a wretched hive of scum and villainy, which was more of all Mos Eisley. But anyway, so you're seeing rich people for the first time in Star Wars. We've seen money in Star Wars. There are big crates with money in it, like when fucking Han got paid at the end and shit like that of Star Wars before he came back to save the day. So money is a factor in this universe, but it's never really you don't really see it or whatever. You get to see lots of fucking Imperial coinage or First Order coinage and shit. A lot of little things. They're trying to stick money into BB-8, which felt a little comfortable, but also hey man, that's what they do in Star Wars. Sometimes little things fucking talk to each other. They Lucas that moment a little bit in the casino. Anyway, so these two park illegally, Finn and Rose, and because of that, they get arrested. They're trying to find this guy who's got a bloom on his lapel who'll be the master codebreaker. That's what Maz told him. This guy, man, he's the man. He'll get you on a fucking Snoke ship. This is the only guy. So they don't get to that guy. They get thrown into fucking space jail, Disney jail. And while they're there, they meet Benicio del Toro, who's like, hey, man, I'm a codebreaker. I'm a codebreaker, too. I've been doing this for years. And he opens their jail cell and lets them all out. At first, he's like, you want my help? They're like, no, we're good. And then he lets them out of the cell, and they're like, holy shit. So they all wind up breaking up, and Benicio del Toro, he winds up with fucking BB-8. BB-8 incapacitated a bunch of casino jail people, guards, cops, casino cops. And then Finn and Rose, earlier, they were on the platform deck of Canto Bight, and they heard a lot of thundering footprints. And it was like these tauntaun-looking creatures. Again, in my version, they would have been tauntauns, but I'm stupid. So they had these horses instead, looked like they had people faces, didn't have long horse snouts. These animals that get raced on, they're like racing horses. And so, they saw there's a quick shot of them being abused and stuff. And so Rose, has the warm, wonderful idea of let's fucking get rid of them. She don't say that. She doesn't say, let's let them out. But the casino cops come in, all of a sudden the cages open up and the fucking horses go running. I mean, there's a very vegan and animal-friendly influence running throughout this entire movie, which I thought was very sweet. I live with the biggest animal lover on the planet in this house, who's also a vegan. So when I saw the movie afterwards, I was like, I texted my daughter, you are going to fucking love how much they love the animals in this movie. They won't even eat a fucking porg. So in any event, these horse creatures go running free and shit like that. And they're on the back of one of them, and then the casino cops are chasing them and shit. And and the horses can run up mountains and shit. And they finally get away, and she takes the saddle off one of the horse. And they say, like, we didn't get the guy. Finn goes, like, this is fucking, we didn't even find the guy and stuff like that. And so, after they release the horses, that's when Rose says, now it was worth it. Like, they did something. They accomplished something there. Not just like, look at all the fucking rich people and shit like that. They set the horses free. So, meanwhile, Laura Dern, we meet Laura Dern, man, after Princess Leia goes out. We got Laura Dern, who's playing Amilyn Holdo. I read about her in the Princess. I didn't read it. It was read to me in the audiobooks over on Audible.com. There's a Princess Leia backstory book, and they introduced this character. So I know a little bit about them, their friendship, and where they came from. Because all of a sudden, they just introduced her in this movie. They're like, here's Princess Leia's friend you never heard of, Amilyn Holdo. And it's Laura Dern in purple fucking hair, and she takes over because General Leia is incapacitated after the spacewalk. So most of the hot-headed Poe, he just wants to blow shit up. Like, he don't want to, wait and shit. And Holdo's like, we're just going to hold our course, stay the course. And he's like, no, we got to blow shit up, so that you can see they're going to start coming to loggerheads. Poe, he runs the Finn and Rose mission to Canto Bight behind her back, behind Admiral Holdo's back and stuff. Meanwhile, we find out that Rey, remember her, and Kylo Ren, remember him, they have a connection. There's a lot going on in this movie, man. That's why I had to write shit down. They got a Force connection. They can talk to each other and shit like that and see each other. And at one point, he's like, Kylo Ren's like, you can't be doing this. If you did this shit, it would tear you apart, because she's a young Jedi and stuff. Sets it up for something that will happen in the third act. So, they think they're just like, they've got this bond. They start talking to each other like a couple teenagers. Where are you from? Why'd you kill your dad? Fucking why'd you do this? And he's like, hey man, you like fucking, what'd your parents ever do for you? And shit like that. So they start talking. He's trying to pull her to the dark side. She's trying to pull him to the light side and stuff. Meanwhile, Luke's telling her about the Force. He's going, forget the fucking Force, man. There's one really funny moment where she's sitting on the rock. He's like, now reach out. And she's supposed to reach out with her feelings. Instead, she reaches out with her hand. He takes a piece of grass or like a fucking stem of a plant. He starts rubbing her hand. He's like, do you feel that? She goes, oh, I do feel it. And he's like, that's the Force. It was really funny. And then he hits her with it. He's like, don't reach out that way, you idiot. And so he's telling her to reach out, like her feelings and shit like that. And so she sees everything, life, death, how it's all connected and blah, blah, blah. And the theory of the Force in this movie is Luke says, the Force is not for the Jedi. It's not like if the Jedi die, the light goes out of the universe. It's like, bullshit, that's arrogance. That's all vanity and stuff. Force does not belong to the Jedi, nor does it belong to the Sith. He's like, you know what the Force is? He's like, it's that shit in between love and hate. It's the shit in between war and peace, that night and day, whatever the fuck. It is the glue, the cartilage that holds it together, which isn't far from like it flows through us. It binds us together, is what Ben Kenobi said. It's an interesting idea. It's like the Force is not good or bad. It just is. And it could be, people can lean in a direction and shit like that. Interesting theory. So Rey is powerful. She can see all this shit, and then she goes right to this dark hole on the island, the glory hole, fucking seaweed on it. And she's like, what is there? Something in there? And he's like, you went for the fucking dark hole. I only seen that happen once. It was with Kylo Ren. And he's like, I don't want to work with you no more. He doesn't trust her and shit because he thinks she might be evil or whatever the fuck, or being brought to the dark side. Let's see. She goes into that hole eventually. She's talking to fucking Kylo Ren, doing the fucking texting with their minds. And she's like, I went in the hole, bitch. And I saw myself reflected 178 times, and I'd snap, and then we'd all snap. And then finally I got up to a magic mirror and I said, show me my parents. And they showed me. Like, that was it. Did one of those scenes. Kind of like in Empire where Luke goes in the tree and winds up fighting himself. But, in the tree, at least you were like, fucking Darth Vader. I was 9 years old when I saw or 10, 9 or 10, 9 on the verge of 10 when I saw Empire Strikes Back. And in that scene where Luke, is like, what's in that tree? And Yoda's like, oh, you got to find out. And he's like, what's in there? And he's like, only what you take with you. And so Luke brings the lightsaber and shit. And then Vader shows up. As a child, I was like, Vader's on Dagobah. He's in the fucking tree. But it was like a fantasy. I didn't understand that. I was a fucking child. This one I understood. This one I was like, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure this is one of those fantasy type things. And so in any event, Luke's training Rey finally to fucking embrace the Force and shit. After fucking R2-D2 gave him some shit, he was like, yeah, I guess I should help. So he's like, I'll train her and shit. We learn what happened with Luke and Kylo Ren in like 3 different versions of the story. Basically, Luke knew Kylo Ren was already in league with Snoke. And so one night he's standing over him in his fucking hut. And he's like, ooh, this kid's going to be the next Darth Vader. And he fucking snaps on his lightsaber. And then, you know, we hear a couple different versions of the story. But the ultimate version is, then he was just like, I can't do that. I'm fucking Luke Skywalker. I can't kill kids. This is fucking nuts, man. That's an Anakin Skywalker thing. He was the one killing younglings and shit. I'm not going to do this. But before he could turn his shit off, he's already feeling shame. Kylo Ren wakes up. Ben Solo, his nephew, sees his fucking uncle standing over him with his fucking, you know, glowing metal kill stick out. And is like, fuck. And he fucking pulls his lightsaber and fucking goes to attack. And Luke blocks it. And then Kylo Ren brings the ceiling down on Luke. And then there's the moment we saw in Force Awakens when Rey was in the room and touched the lightsaber. We see Luke's hand on R2's head and shit like that. We saw a different angle of it because Kylo Ren went ape shit, killed all the other fucking Jedi trainees and burned the temple down and stuff, which will teach you to not stand over your fucking nephew in the middle of the night with, you know, a lit lightsaber. You know, granted, you can make the argument, hey man, Snoke had already turned him and shit like that. But, you know, if I woke up and I was like, oh, Luke was going to kill me, fuck this, I'm bringing it down. And that's what he did. So, you know, Rey's like, hey, man, like, you got to be better. She's trying to pull him to the light side and shit. Luke's bummed about being a Jedi in this movie. He wants it all to end, as we saw in the trailers. He's like, it's time for the Jedi to end. And he catches Rey and Kylo force touching each other in a hut, man, and blows the fucking roof off. And then he's like, fuck, don't you talk to that boy, which I thought was like going to be eventually Luke saying, because he's your brother. And I think that's, you know, maybe what we were set up to believe and stuff, that the relationship, because from the last movie, we're like, who is Rey? And how does she figure into the Skywalker saga? Is she a Kenobi? What is her relation to all this and stuff? So in that moment, I was like, maybe that's why he's mad that they're fucking touching each other, or force touching, or fucking chit-chatting, because he's like, hey man, I know from kissing my sister and then finding out she's your sister, let me spare you the fucking heartbreak of kissing your brother and finding out he's your brother or something later on. So it don't matter. They wind up fighting. She attacks him with her stick, and he fucking pulls a stick from the sky. And you get to see Luke Skywalker fight for a little bit, but then she fucking gets a drop on him with a lightsaber and shit. And that's when he's like, this ain't going to go the way you think, from the trailer and whatnot. And, you know, she's like, you got to fucking help. Are you going to help or not? I'm wasting my time on this. You can take your metal dick back and fucking fight the Force of the First Order. And he's like, no. He just fucking looks down. And she's like, fine, then I got to go to Kylo Ren. I'm going to try to turn him. There's good in him, and you won't help me. Fuck it. I got to do something here. And she takes off. She takes Chewie and R2, takes the Falcon, and fucks off. And Luke watches him go, and then he's like, ooh, he's all mad at himself. So he goes and lights a fucking lighter, a heavy-duty lighter, and he goes to burn down this tree on the island. It's got the sacred Jedi texts in it and stuff. He's like done with this shit. And as you see him climbing the stairs to the tree, we go behind, we're panning or we're fucking dollying and wind up going behind very familiar head and set of ears. And this is another highlight of the movie for me because, again, it's very easy to put together. Anytime you let the old characters talk to each other, you got my full attention. And there he was, Yoda. And hats off to Ryan and the production folks for choosing the Yoda they chose. It was the Yoda who dies in Return of the Jedi. We've seen Yoda in the prequels. They've done Yoda as a version of puppets. Remember in the Phantom Menace, he was a puppet at first. And then later on, George Lucas, I think, changed him out to digital. Then he was digital, you know, for the rest of those movies and stuff. So we haven't seen like hardcore puppet Yoda, not that one particularly, since his death. And they brought that one back. The same Yoda that died in Return of the Jedi, and then the blanket falls down. That's the one that comes back to see Luke. And it's fucking beautiful, man. Like, you know, he calls him young Skywalker. I'm such an easy mark. That's what he used to call him in Return of the Jedi. And he'll always be young Skywalker to him, even though we're sitting there going, young Skywalker? Motherfucker, this guy is old. And they have a chit chat, and he's like, I'm going to burn the books. And Yoda's like, fuck you, I'll do it. And he calls down some fucking lightning, and it lights the tree up and shit. And he's like, what are you doing? And he's just like, fucking the books don't matter, bitch. He's going, like, do you ever try to read them? They're not page turners. He's like, you know, the Force and the Jedis are inside of you or some fucking touchy-feely shit. And he talks about, like, how, you know, Luke feels like a failure. Like, Luke has thrown himself in exile because of what happened with Kylo Ren. He's just like, I'm a fucking terrible Jedi master. I'm an idiot. Why'd I ever try? I shouldn't be touching the Force and shit. He's disconnected from the Force. And Yoda's like, you don't get it. You did exactly what you're supposed to do. You trained him. And good and bad, it's all part of it. He says something very similar to what I always say on stage, where I'm like, failure is just success training. I know it sounds like a cat poster, but it's fucking true. And he says something about, like, failure is a great teacher or some such shit. And he's like, you you taught that dude. Like, you did what you were supposed to. And he's like, all students move beyond the masters at a certain point, you know? So he kind of lets Luke off the hook. Luke's been beating the shit out of himself for years and stuff. And he's like, but come on, man. It was the Good Will Hunting, it's not your fault, Will, moment with the, you know, Sean. It's not your fault. And it wasn't like Luke going, fuck you, Sean, not you. But he was just like, what? And Yoda's going, fuck the past in some degree of it. Think about the future and shit. Books are books, man. He's going to Jedi. That's in you or whatever the fuck. But it was a really beautiful moment. And there's Mark Hamill acting with like the puppet that he acted with. I don't know if it's the same puppet, probably a new version of it. But, you know, from years back, it was beautiful. Wonderful moment. And smart that Yoda was the guy who had the come to Jesus conversation with him. And you know, in the back of my mind when the movie started, I was like, I wonder if they'll show Yoda. And then when it happened, I'd completely forgotten. I wasn't expecting it, so it was a complete surprise. And I did and lean forward and start fucking crying. 47. When you get to middle age and you're a stoner, everything makes you fucking cry. But I'll be honest with you, that was fucking dope, man. Him calling him young Skywalker. And like, you know, when I was a kid, I saw that movie. And that's the mentor-student relationship that I know, other than like what I was taught in school, was from Empire Strikes Back. You get yourself a master, and the master teaches the pupil and shit like that. So it was nice seeing those guys together. And Yoda's still teaching them shit 40 years on. Still taking them to school. So let's see. There's a moment where Rey takes off. Like you had seen earlier in the movie, Luke's X-Wing submerged in a lagoon on Skyland, the island, Skywalker Island. And Octo, it's called. Or Octo, I'm not sure. But anyway, when you saw it, you're like, oh, shit, son. I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. When he's going to raise that shit. Like Yoda raised his X-Wing. He's going to fucking fly back and fight the fucking First Order. But, you know, that's one of the charms of this movie is that if you think you know where it's going, they will make a decision to be like, no, that's not it. And they will go in a different direction. Satisfying, just not the version that I would have done. I would have lifted that X-Wing. You put an X-Wing in the water, you better lift it out of the water. And I would have sent it back to take on the whole fucking Empire himself, like Dak. Remember when Dak was like, I feel like I could take on the whole Empire myself. Fucking that's what I'd have Luke do. And we kind of get that later on. But in any event, he don't raise the X-Wing. It stays in the water. But, okay. So just like, let me see. Finn and Rose, they, wait, did I talk about that already? Oh, so after they find, they go to Monte Carlo, the casino joint and shit like that. They found, there was something I just want to talk about. They introduced the notion that the Empire, or the First Order, sorry, I have to keep correcting. The First Order doesn't build its own weaponry. Like any army, they buy it from weapons manufacturers, like Tony Stark and fucking Stark Industries and shit like that. But you don't do that no more. Obadiah Stane would probably fucking sell that shit to them. So in any event, they introduced the notion of like, there are rich people in the galaxy and these people make TIE fighters. And then at one point, Benicio del Toro is like, you know, they make them for the bad guys and the good guys. And they show an X-Wing. So apparently these people got rich just selling, you know, fucking the machinery of war to both sides. That's a notion that was never introduced to me in the Star Wars movies. When I was a kid, you didn't think about that sort of shit. Where you were just like, who makes these ships? You know, you were just like, well, the Empire makes their ships and the Rebels make their ships. But apparently they buy their ships from fucking weapons people. And I don't know, it was just weird. It would have changed the way I played Star Wars with my figures as a kid because I could have had whole adventures where the Emperor is just like, I would like to order 400 new TIE fighters. Bring them as soon as possible. My purchase order number is, you know, maybe not as fun as the other ship, but still, it would have been a way to go. It was an interesting notion though, man. And of course, very modern to talk about, you know, hey man, who makes these fucking weapons of war? Who's profiting from this war and stuff? So in any event, that's going on. That was on Monte Carlo. Rey, she gets off. She took off in a Falcon. She escape pods off the fucking Falcon and shit. A little mini escape pod. I didn't know how Falcon had one of those. And she winds up on Snoke's ship. Her little space coffin takes her on a Snoke ship, and she's looking through the glass and shit. And there's Kylo Ren, you know, without the mask anymore. Pretty Kylo Ren. His face gets fixed up too, from when she fucking cut it last movie. And then she, you know, he reveals some stormtroopers behind him, and they got cuffs, and so he's gonna take her in to see the Emperor and stuff like that. They're on Snoke's ship, and Emo Solo takes her to see the Snoke, the motion capture madman we've been speculating about since we saw The Force Awakens. Like, hey man, who is it really? Is it the Emperor come back to life? Is it fucking, Mace Windu? I saw one theory. It looks kind of like Mace Windu. Is it, some other Star Wars character, someone deeply connected? Is it, there's all these, who is it? Who is it connected? And is it Grand Moff Tarkin? It's none of those. But it doesn't really matter. Turns out it really doesn't matter going forward who fucking Snoke is. Snoke reveals that he's the guy that bridged the minds of Rey and Kylo, man. And he used Kylo's emo, where he's like, fucking don't know if I want to be this guy, against him. And, by fucking putting those two together, teaming them up and shit. And he's like, I knew you'd try to turn each other. I'm fucking the smartest bitch in the galaxy. You guys are fucking fools. He's a fool. You're a fool. And you better tell me where fucking Skywalker is, man. I'm gonna, fuck it. Don't even tell me. I'm gonna pull it out your fucking mind. And then I'm gonna you're gonna die painful and shit like that. So he starts torturing Rey and stuff, try to get information out of her. Meanwhile, Finn and Rose, after they help the fucking Tauntauns, where are we? Here. The Resistance ships are running out of gas. With that. So Poe Dameron, he gets all mad. He's like, fuck it. And he makes mutiny against Holdo, Laura Dern's character, who, Princess Leia, she's the next in charge after Princess Leia, General Leia. So she's fueling up the escape pods. Instead of fucking let's jump or get the fuck out of here, she's fueling up escape pods, which are more like ships. And, they're going to abandon ship. And Poe don't like this. He's like, that's your fucking plan? You've blown all this gas in 2 hours of the movie to fucking jump ship? That's it? Fucking, you're an idiot. And makes mutiny, man. Him and a few others turn their guns on fucking Holdo and the others. And he takes over the fucking ship. But then she's like, Psha! And she knocks this fucking steam thing off. And she gets away. And then all of a sudden the bridge gets locked down. And then they're Star Warring each other. A civil Star War on the Resistance ship. Last thing they need as the fucking Empire. They don't even, the First Orders could just hang back. These motherfuckers would kill themselves soon enough if they don't run out of gas. So then, bam, the bridge doors open and blow open and shit. And fucking Princess Leia comes out of her sick bed. And Poe's like, what the fuck? And she's like, boom, takes him out and shit. So there goes the mutiny and shit like that. Okay. The whole thing is they find out when he wakes up. The plan all along was to get the ship as close to planet Crait, and then the escape pods would take off and jettison down to Crait, where there used to be a rebel base back in the day, already just sitting there waiting for him. That's why they're doing the slow chase, because anywhere they jumped, the Empire would follow them because they were tracking them. But the Empire don't track the little ships, it tracks the main ship, but it ain't going to track the pods. So like, look, we get as close to Crait as possible. The pods get down to Crait. We get inside the fucking fort before these fucking fools know that there's nobody on the goddamn ship. It's a sound plan, but fucking nobody bothered to tell Poe, because he was bumped down in rank and shit. You can save a lot of time in the movie if you're like Poe. But, the idea is like, he's a hotshot who always wants to blow shit up. And these women are like, hey, man, we got a plan, motherfucker. And so, after Princess Leia or General Leia Organa gives him the plan, he's like, oh, I didn't fucking know that was your plan. I thought fucking Holdo was turning evil, man. And she was like, no, man, she was trying to fucking keep the light bright. She's not interested in credit for herself. She's kind of keep the light alive and shit. Keep the fire burning, the fucking spark. We are the spark that will, be the resistance, whatever the fuck the line is. So it's kind of a cool moment for her where, she's going to go down with the ship, Holdo. She says to Leia, like, bye, man, I can't, I'm going to go down with the ship. You go. This is it. This is the moment, I've been waiting for and stuff like that. And so it's kind of beautiful. Where are we at now? Let's see. Back on Snoke's ship, up in Snoke, he tells Kylo Ren, you're going to fucking lightsaber that girl to death. That's your fucking job. And instead, Kylo Ren's like, all right, while fucking Snoke's telling her, it's like, what's going to happen? I'm going to tell you the next fucking 10 minutes of your fucking life before you die. Starts telling her everything. And then this guy's going to fucking run you through with a lightsaber because that's who I am, fucking Snoke. And then I'm going to find Skywalker, I'm going to fucking kill him and blah, blah, blah. And he's pretty powerful. You can see him whipping her around the room. There's one funny bit where she goes for the lightsabers. Luke's lightsaber is sitting on the arm of his chair. And just like Luke in Return of the Jedi went for it and shit and got it, and it went on and shit. She goes for it, but it goes all the way around her and comes back and like clocks her in the head and then goes back to fucking Snoke's arm, for the chair, or the arm of his chair. And he's like, come on, fucking Snoke, don't you get it? That don't mean shit, because as he's sitting there telling her what's going to happen, he's like, my young apprentice and shit like that, having his Emperor in Return of the Jedi moment. Kylo Ren's sitting there listening to him, and Kylo Ren is, Ben Solo. He's fucking emo as fuck to begin with. Now double emo because he's like my fucking best friend and boss. literally used me. He told me that fucking he fucking hoodwinked me. Like, I thought me and this girl were connected, and he fucking used me, and he called me weak, like right in front of her. Fuck this. You see him get mad, and he lights his lightsaber, like it looks like he's gonna jam fucking, Rey in the heart or whatever. But meanwhile, you see his hand doing some force shit to the side, like some of this shit. And when that happened, I was like, no! Because I knew it was coming. We all did. And you see the lightsaber that's on the arm of the chair turn towards Snoke, man. And then finally, Snoke, as he's telling Rey what's gonna happen, he's like, and then I will tell him to turn on your lightsaber, strike down your greatest enemy. And fucking homeboy goes like, ooh, and all of a sudden you hear, pwang, and the fucking lightsaber turns on into Snoke. And you're like, what? It's one thing for him to betray Snoke, but like, you don't usually kill the Emperor to the third fucking movie. What's going on? And then he goes, and it fucking pulls the lightsaber, with the Force. So it cuts this fucker in half. 2 Snokes. Snoke the sequel, part 1 and 2. And then fucking Rey catches the lightsaber. Snoke fucking falls in half. And then all his evil red guards, like, who are awfully fucking slow to react, are like, what? And they start attacking. And there's a slow-mo moment where our fucking 2 heroes now, Kylo Ren and Rey, together fighting these fuckers, man. That was dope. Really dope. Real cool. They're sham. I saw some people online go, those are one of the greatest lightsaber battles in the movie. I don't, yeah, sure. Of all the movies, absolutely. But the one in Star Wars is kind of weak. 2 old men, like Ben Kenobi and David Prowse, kind of hitting each other with sticks. One of the greatest, of course, is it would be Qui-Gon Jinn versus, and Ben Kenobi versus Darth Maul. That was fucking fantastic. This one was cool, but it was kind of like a wide shot that pushed in, or a 2-shot that pulled out into wide. Ryan let them fight in the room, and it looked cool, but it wasn't like, oh my God, his mind bending was fucking cutting that fucker in half with the lightsaber. It took me back to my childhood. When I was a kid and I saw Return of the Jedi, and Luke did that moment where he got the fucking lightsaber, and then he wields it up here, shing, and then he goes to come down. It always bugged me that, like, if he didn't grab it, he could have just spun around while it was kept going. And then the back of his blade's going through the back of fucker's chair and cutting him in half. I promise you, I swear to you, I used to have that discussion with my high school girlfriend all the time. I was like, why didn't he just swing around the chair and cut from behind? And she was like, why do you think about that shit? I was like, I don't know. It might make a great career one day. They did it. They did that moment. Essentially, they cut him in half. He didn't go behind the chair, but they cut him in half in his own fucking Emperor chair, man. It was dope. And then they start fighting with each other, and they're taking out the guards and shit, who have really big outfits for fighting. I don't know if I'd put that much capery and drapery and shit if I had to move around quick and whatnot. But they're supposed to be elite. They're not elite because they get taken out. She cuts one of, like, at one point, there's a guy holding the lightsaber, and she's getting close to her face. And then she fucking drops down, catches lightsaber, cuts fucker's legs out, and then fucking cuts him in half. Like, it was fantastic. She knows how to use that fucking lightsaber, that Rey. Rey, a drop of golden sun. So, that was a pretty dope scene. And at the end of it, she's like, hurry up, man. We can, like, the resistance ships. Well, problem is, meanwhile, while that's going on, the First Order, now I got to take it back. Finn and Rose and Benicio del Toro, Space Fenster, he's like, what the fuck? They get on the ship, the Snoke ship. As promised, the guy gets them on the ship. And then just as they're about to go in the chamber where you shut down the fucking tracking device, all the cops show up, all the Imperial, the First Order shows up, and including a fucking evil BB-8, Bizarro BB-8, who's been watching motherfuckers like, because they're dressed like Imperials, and to dress up BB-8, they emptied a garbage can, stuck it on top of them, which was kind of a cute idea. When we were kids, people were always like, that R2-D2 looks like a garbage can. So, it was kind of a cute notion. But anyway, they get fucking caught. So they don't even accomplish their mission. And then you're like, what the fuck? And then suddenly, Space Fenster, man, he's like, hey, I flip ya. And he flips on him and fucking sells out his buddies, man. The usual suspect himself. Sells out his fucking buddies for money. And, fucking Finn's like, hey, man, like, you can't be that way in life. Life, sucks like that. And he's like, maybe you're right. And then fucks off. Like, that's it. Benicio's gone from the movie. So they're caught. And all of a sudden, Captain Phasma shows up. It's the Boba Fett of this bitch. Is played by Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones. And she's like FN2, 17, whatever his number is and shit. And so she decides they're going to execute him. Like, fuck, the blaster's too good for these fools. We're going to use a fucking space cheese grater, a laser cheese grater to fucking cut him in half. And they're about to kill him and Rose and shit like that. So everybody is on the edge of their seats. Meanwhile, they found out, the First Order, what the Resistance was doing, getting these little ships away from the big ship. And they're like, fuck it, target those little ships. Let's start blowing these fuckers out the sky. Bam, they're taking out fucking ships left and right. And Leia and Poe are on a ship where like fucking, their ships are going down all around. So the Resistance is fucked at this point. And so Holdo, Laura Dern, is on the big ship. And and the moment they cut to her, I was like, oh my God, please do this. And they fucking did it. One of the greatest moments in any Star Wars movie. Admiral Holdo, Amy Lynn Holdo, turns the fucking ship around and goes light speed through Snoke's vehicle. Never seen that in a Star Wars movie. And as they set up for it, I was like, I want to kiss Rian Johnson and his fucking co-writing buddy. I was like, you guys, mwah, fuck, that's good. God damn it, that's good. Second viewing, I had this feeling of like, would have been better if Leia did it. You know what I'm saying? She worked her whole life fighting the rebels and shit like that. What a way to go out that would have been and stuff. But hey, man, that's quibbles. That's my version of Star Wars. There's nobody ever going to see. In this version, I was wholly satisfied by her fucking turning that ship around and like, pshang! And they do it in like with no sounds, classy as fuck, man. Soundless, because in space, no one can hear you fucking scream. And so it just rockets through and fucking Snoke's ship gets like decimated. So meanwhile, that saves the Resistance. They get down to Crait. And it saves Finn and Rose, you know, because they're like, oh shit, the explosion fucking tosses everybody around. Except Phasma's like, you FN 187, whatever, you fucking piece of shit. And they have their fight, and which you've seen in the trailer. And they battle to like, you know, near standstill. And then he fucking hits her with some shit, you know, across the face. And her mask breaks over. You can see her eye and shit like that. Like, it's Brianna Tarth. Somebody tell Jamie, the Kingslayer, his buddy's here. And so then she falls down a fucking floor into the fire. And presumably she's dead, but you know, it's fucking Star Wars. So maybe she comes back with more armor next time and shit, like burnt to a crisp. But just, you know, they fucking do that. Did it for Darth Vader. Maybe they'll do it for her. So maybe she's not gone. Maybe she is. But I'll tell you what, man, Snoke getting sliced in half, Captain Phasma getting iced, all felt like, fuck you, Force Awakens. Like, again, those are big fundamental parts of those movies. And suddenly in this movie, it's just like, we undid it. We don't need it. A goose, you know, suddenly gone. So it was kind of weird to see both Snoke go and that other thing, but whatever. So let me see. Snoke's dead. Now his ship is trashed. The holdo maneuver saves Finn and Rose, as we said, and they fucking fight and stuff with Phasma. After they kill all of Snoke's elite guards, Rey says to Kylo, we can fucking save the Resistance, man. We got to shut these ships down. It's before fucking Snoke's ship gets smoked by Holdo. And you can see all of a sudden, he's like, no, I don't want to do that. He's like, let them die. Let the Resistance die. Let the First Order die. Fucking burn it all to the ground. Fuck our families. Fuck everything else. He's going, it's just you and me. Like, we'll rebuild the galaxy together as father and son. It's that kind of moment where he's like, fuck all this. Let's join forces. And then, you know, she's like, oh, please, Ben, don't do this. Really nice moment for Daisy Ridley. Where she's like, Ben, don't. Like, she had a friend. And for a moment, somebody who understands her. She wasn't alone in this fucking world. And, you know, he saved her life. She saved his life. And then all of a sudden, you know, she sees the fucking dark side pulling him, man. This guy's just no fucking good. It's no good. So, you know, he starts fucking telling her, come on, man, fucking, we can do this, we can do this, we can fucking, we don't need these people and shit like that. And she's like, please don't make me do this. And they wind up force fighting each other for Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, very symbolic. And they're holding each other in this fucking fight. It was cool. I like that, you know, he fucking turned. Like, I was glad that it's like, he wasn't Kylo Ren, good guy. He had a moment, and then all of a sudden he was like, you know, fuck all this. Burn it all down. Like, you know, he says something in the trailer about, like, you know, burn it down or fucking kill your hate or whatever, fuck, kill it all, kill the past. He says that at one point, too, to her. It's like, kill the past. Talking about his mom and his dad and shit like that. So you're like, all right, he was with her, now he's against her, now it's back to Star War and shit like that. So they start fucking fighting. Let's see. It ends in a big explosion. A big explosion. They're fighting for that lightsaber and force fucking explosion between them or some such shit. So Hux comes in the room later on where they were fighting the Emperor's chamber. He sees the fucking Emperor, the Snoke's chamber, and he sees his boss fucking cut in half and shit, and his legs fall off the chair. And so he has a moment. It was a really cool moment, man, where they were going to let the Weasley brother fucking kill Kylo Ren. Like, he sees him out cold on the floor, and he reaches into his jacket like, I'm going to ice this fucking fool. But instead, Kylo Ren wakes up, and he's like, where is she? Where's Rey? And he's like, she took Snoke's escape ship and fucked off. And he's like, oh, we're going to Crait. We know where they're fucking going. Crate and Barrel. We're going down to the fucking planet, and we're going to kill these fucking rebels for once and for all. There's resistance. Sorry, terminology. For once and for all, I'm fucking going down there. Like, we're all going. Let's go. And, you know, Hux is like, hey, man, our boss is dead. Like, that's it. I was in it for him, for Snoke and shit. And Homeboy, like, wrecks him against a wall as if to be like, chokes him. He's like, yeah, and, you know, does the force choke on him. He's like, all right, it's your world, bitch. And suddenly he's in charge. Suddenly the new supreme leader is Kylo Ren, no longer Snoke. So what happens, man? Hux is all, Hux, you know, fucking after his who's the boss moment, he learns the boss is fucking Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren's like, we're going down to fucking kill the resistance on Crait. At this point in the movie, I was like, holy shit, man. I thought the movie was wrapping up. I was like, this is fucking insanely satisfying. Wow, what a fucking thrill ride. Then I sit there going, wait a second. I didn't see no gorilla walkers yet. I didn't see that planet with all the red stripes and shit. Like, wait. Then I realized there's like another half hour of this movie to go. They packed a lot of movie into this. It felt like watching a season of a TV show, man. Not in a bad way, just like, there's a lot of it's dense. There's a lot of fucking story, man. You get your money's worth on this fucking movie. You know, remembering you're only paying what, fucking $8 to $12. Felt like I got my money's worth. So at any event, on Crait, the Resistance sets up shop in an old rebel base with giant metal doors, man. And the First Order ship races at the base, followed by attacking TIE fighters. But it's really Rose and Finn and BB-8. They escaped, you know, from the fucking from the First Order. In a you know, what looked like the ship that they stole in Return of the Jedi, you know, the Emperor's ship or Darth Vader's ship. I always thought it was the Emperor's ship. In any event, they fucking get through the front doors, and you know, everyone's like, kill them, and they're like, no, it's us, don't shoot. And so they're like, all right, man, get ready, because shit's about to happen. And you know, Leia's looking out, or somebody's looking out. Leia's looking out over. She's wearing a turtleneck. And she's looking out and she sees some shit, like the ship coming at them and stuff. Then they realize that, like, the First Order's landed. They got walkers. They got these big-ass gorilla walkers, which are snow walkers, but with longer arms. Then they also they're setting up this thing. They're called a battering ram cannon, laser battering ram cannon. Battering ram cannon, I think is what I wrote down. They describe it as miniaturized Death Star technology, proving once again these movies cannot get the fuck away from the Death Star. Even if it's not in the movie, they're like, but this is just like the Death Star. You know, it's this thing they turn on and it's going to cut through that fucking metal door. So the Resistance gets any ships they have together, and there's mostly these crop dusting little ships and shit like that. For Crait, it's a salt planet. It's all covered in white. So every time like ships move, the fucking white spreads and you see the red underneath or vice versa. It's very visually stunning when they have the Crait battle on Crait. It looks beautiful as fuck in a movie. So they send these fighters out to take on the gorilla walkers and maybe take out the fucking battering ram cannon. And, you know, they're getting killed because they're not even in fighter jets and shit. But instead, the fucking Falcon, your childhood, comes in to say, just like, you know, Han Solo at the end of Star Wars. We're clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing out of here. Rey and Chewie take the TIE fighters, lead the TIE fighters off in the Falcon, which gives the guys on the ground, which is like Poe and Rose and Finn and the rest of the Resistance chance to get in at those guns, but they're getting picked off left and right. And so Poe's like, we ain't going to do it. We can't do it. And now it's Finn's turn to be Poe, where he's like, we're doing it. I'm too close. And he hates the fucking First Order because he was a stormtrooper. He's like, I'm stopping this shit. And he's like, Poe, stop it. And he fucking turns his comlink off. He don't want to know about it. Rose is like, Poe, Finn, don't fucking do this. And Finn is just racing at that fucking gun, man. And then you legit, you're buying it. You're like, oh my God, they're going to fucking kill another character. They're going to Snoke him. And instead, at the last second, Rose's ship, bam, blasts his ship out of the way before it blows up into the eye of the battering ram cannon. Their ships go flying. he gets out of his ship, he runs over to her, and she's like half dead. And he's like, why did you stop me? And she has like one of the most beautiful moments in the movie, and probably one of the most eloquent takedowns or rationales behind, or the logic behind war. And I thought it was eloquent. I wrote it the fuck down. Where is it, man? She says, God damn it, where did I write it? She says, she goes, I saved you. He goes, why'd you stop me? And she goes, I saved you. And she says, that's how we're going to win. Not by fighting what we hate, by saving what we love. Simple sentiment, beautifully stated, beautifully acted. I cried during that moment too. That's you forget Star Wars, so it's like we come to watch the war. But these characters in the movie, like, we don't want this shit. This is horrible. But we're going to do it, and not because we're like, fuck the enemy. It's because we love the people that we're protecting and stuff like that. Really, really fucking wonderful. Summation of why anybody fights, I would hope. Okay. The Resistance set out a distress call, but nobody's fucking coming, man. After all these years, Leia stands alone. They're going to die on Crait, and there's not many left. They all get picked off in space. Like, it looks like maybe a couple hundred fucking Resistance fighters left, and they're all going to be decimated because Kylo Ren's like, take them all out, and he's on his fucking ship hovering over the fucking Guerrilla Walkers, yelling at Hux, fucking do this, do that. And so, even though Leia's alone, then it happens, dude. We waited the whole fucking movie for this, but Luke shows up, man. The Resistance sent out the distress signal. Nobody's coming. Luke shows up. Luke and Leia have this emotional reunion. It's another of the best scenes in the movie for me because there they are, man. Those are the original two Star Warriors together, man. Again, he changed the course of his destiny for this woman years back. He saw a little video of her, and he's like, I'm going to change my whole fucking life to join this fight. And part of it was like, she's pretty, and then he found out they were related. Now he's going to give her, he sits down, he talks to her about fucking, hey, man, how you been? And she's like, she's like, I changed my hair. He's like, I know. And then he gives her Han Solo's space dice, used to hang in the fucking Falcon. And he says, nobody's ever really gone because he hasn't really talked to her about Han yet and stuff like that. And he's been disconnected from the Force. That's why maybe he don't know that Han is dead. But so he gives her the dice. They have this kind of really warm scene. And then he kisses his sister's forehead. It was really lovely. And, the only thing is, like, of course, I'm like, more scenes with Carrie and Marc. But I was happy with the scene I got. Then he gets up and he heads out. And you're like, oh, my God, are they going to do it? Like, is he literally going to do what he said he wouldn't do? Is he going to face down the whole First Order with a fucking laser sword? This could be the greatest moment in cinema fucking history. And he walks out, he walks past C-3PO and he gives him a wink. 3PO gets shit on left and right in all these fucking movies. Everyone loves an R2-D2. Nobody fucking fucks and likes 3PO. He's always getting fucking shit. So he winks at 3PO. That's all 3PO gets after all that shit. R2, he gets like a real emotional conversation with 3PO. He's like, what up, Goldenrod? And then fucking heads out, man. For a moment, I wrote, it's one of the most powerful images in any Star Wars movie ever made. We are over the shoulder and behind the man from Tatooine, the man who was once a farm boy, as he faces down a slew of walkers and a giant spaceship. Are you kidding me? It is a moment that becomes instantly legendary. It is almost instantly legendary as when the Darth Vader minute at the end of fucking Rogue One. It sums up everything we've always thought about Star Wars as kids. Luke Skywalker against all the fucking bad guys. And there it is, summed up in one beautiful fucking image. So fucking Emo Ren is like, I want every gun pointed at that fucking man and fire. And they open fucking fire and it's fucking glorious because you know what's going to happen. I don't care if you've never seen a movie before in your life. You know what's going to happen. When the fucking smoke clears and the shooting stops, bam, unscathed Luke Skywalker gives him one of these. Like, come on, is that all you got and shit? Glorious. Glorious. It was fantastic. And then fucking Kylo Ren's like, drop me down to the planet. I got to fight this fool myself. And I'm like, we're going to have a fucking old-timers fight. Just like Ben Kenobi fucking fought Darth Vader and shit. Luke Skywalker, old-timey Grizzly Adams Luke Skywalker, going to fight young Darth Vader, new Vader, Kylo Ren, Faux Vader, Poser Vader, Darth Poser, whatever the fuck. So we're going to get it. We're going to see Mark Hamill fucking wield the lightsaber for the first time since, fucking Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. He's going to be holding a laser sword and fighting with it. So I was fucking ready for this shit, man. He ducks Kylo's attack and shit. He's talking to him. He's just like, hey, man, if you kill me, I'm going to be with you forever, just like your father. And in that moment, I was like, they're going to show Han. Han's going to be a Force ghost. We're going to see it and shit. That didn't happen, so don't worry. Don't get your hopes up. He just mentions it to him. He's just like, your dad, I know you killed your fucking father, you piece of shit. And Kylo Ren's like, ah! And he goes to attack him a few times. Can't hit fucking Luke. And then all of a sudden, Kylo Ren is like, I'm pissed. And he goes to fucking run Luke through with his lightsaber. And he stabs fucking Luke through the heart, but it does nothing. And you're like, oh, are they saying he's, fucking unkillable? What the fuck? What's going on and shit? And then all of a sudden, Kylo Ren realizes Luke's not really there. It is a force casting, like astral projection of himself. He's forced himself across space and time into a projection. It's a force projection. He was never there. He wasn't there in the room with Leia, kissing her. They reveal Luke hovering on a rock back on Skywalker Island, Skyland, Octo, and he's, fucking he's projecting himself across galaxies to be there. And that Poe in the base is just like, oh shit, he's just buying his time. He can't fucking defeat the First Order. Is before he realizes it's a force projection. He's like, he's buying his time till we can get out of here. And he got in here, so there's got to be another way out. And then they notice, hey, wait, where's all them crystal foxes at? And all the crystal foxes are scattered, and there's one, and he goes running. They're like, follow that fucking fox. And so they follow him to the back of the base, and their animals are getting out through little holes in the rock and shit. And they're like, no person can get through this. And so Rey lands her ship, because she's been tracking the people and stuff. And so she lands her ship near it, and she gets out and sees that the entryway or the exit is covered in fucking rocks. And there's one moment in training with Luke Skywalker where he's just like, the Force is not about like fucking moving rocks and shit like that. And so it's a sweet callback, because she looks at all these rocks and she's like, the Force is not about moving rocks or something like that. And so, you realize, oh fuck, she's going to move these fucking rocks. You're going to see the full power of the fucking Force at her fingertips and shit. And sure enough, as Luke is, talking to Kylo Ren in the battle before he reveals his Force ghost and shit, he's like, I'm not going to be the last Jedi. I'm not the last Jedi. And then we indicate that Rey is the last Jedi, 'cause she's fucking making all the rocks float, and everybody's like, holy shit. And they all escape and get onto the Falcon. And that's when Luke says to Kylo Ren, see you around, kid. And he fucking force fades out and shit. So we're going to see him as a Force ghost in the next movie. He's going to play a role. I saw people online be like, is that it? He literally says, see you around, kid. So he'll be back for sure. Meanwhile, they cut to Octo, where Luke, fucking collapses after doing that. And remember, just like Kylo had told Rey, that would destroy you if you tried to fucking talk across the galaxy, if you tried to force project yourself across the galaxy. It fucking destroys Luke Skywalker, and you could tell that he's dying and stuff, and he climbs up onto the rock. And they give Marc this kind of sweet, beautiful moment where I don't know if it's meant that the planet has twin suns or it's a reflection or something, but just like on Tatooine when he was a boy and he looked up in the sky and saw the twin suns, and there's the sweeping John Williams cue. Pondering one's future. You don't have to be a boy who saw Star Wars in 1977. You can be anybody who's ever seen that movie or never seen that movie and know the feeling of looking up, looking out, looking somewhere and just going, where am I? What do I fit in? What am I supposed to do? When does my life begin? And here's the end of that moment. Like 40 years later, it's him going, I know where I've been. I know what I've done. I know who I am now more than ever. And I'm at peace. And I'm reconnected with the Force again. And maybe it's time. And he lets himself go. And just like how Yoda died and then disappeared and the blanket fell, Luke dies and they do like, a dissolve and boom, the blanket fucking falls. Almost as if it was the 70s or 80s. Like you could have done a special effect where he like literally disappears, but they just kind of dissolve. It was classy. And that's it. Luke Skywalker fucking dies. Now, would I have done that? No. I'm not saying it's wrong that they did it. I understand what they did. But I've been having discussions with people. This is the one thing I stumble onto. Is there, and I can't, maybe I missed it. I saw it twice. Was there a reason he physically couldn't be there? Like maybe it was like, no, he can't get there, the X-Wing, whatever the fuck. But if I was in charge, I would have sent him there. Like he would have been there in physical person. In that moment where all the fucking ships bear down and shoot him, they can't get him because he's a fucking Jedi master. And he's just like, pew, 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 pew. I would have loved it if he deflected each shot into all the fucking walkers until everyone was fucking dead except him and Kylo Ren. And even if they had to have him die and he gets killed by Kylo Ren, man, at least we would have seen Master Jedi Master Luke Skywalker. This was our hero. We grew up with this kid. And to see him fucking just be like the equivalent of the Yoda fight in the prequels where Yoda takes on Dooku and you're like, holy fucking shit. Which I just realized now is a precursor to the Darth Vader 1 minute in Rogue One, man. We did see somebody cool go ape shit and be young with a lightsaber. Yoda, and then they did it for Darth Vader. Would have been awesome. Or in my version, that's what Luke Skywalker would have done. Not unhappy with the version I saw. It's just I wouldn't have done that. And I still don't understand why he couldn't leave. Maybe somebody knows, like, you know, hey, there's a reason. He says, seeing if anybody knows. No, nobody. Nobody seems to have an answer. I thought maybe there was something in there. I thought he chose to join the Force for the next generation. Somebody suggested. I don't know. He's not. But anyway, Luke didn't die. Like, you know, as he tells us, nobody's ever really gone. He tells Leia. He just went one with the Force. You know, just like Ben Kenobi. He, you know, remember fucking Vader comes through. If you strike me down, I should become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. And he fucking goes to cut him, and then the robe drops, and then Vader, you know, puts his foot in the robe going, where the fuck is his body? Ben Kenobi became one with the Force. You could do that if you're a Jedi Master, I'm told. I don't know for a fact. Yoda became one with the Force. Luke himself becomes one with the Force. But physically, he is no longer, so technically that is dead. But yes. So let's see. Where are we with this? Rey gets all the resistance onto the Falcon. They take off. Let me see. Leia and Rhea know Luke's gone. They both feel it. You know, they have a conversation where they're like, he's gone. She's like, I fucking know. He's my brother, you fool. And Luke tells, Leia, Leia tells, let me see. He died. Oh, but Leia says, or Rey says, like, he died. I felt peace. Like, he was a sense of peace. Like, he wasn't even dying a fucking, you know, he got lightsabered in the head or cut in half like fucking Snoke and shit. He was just sitting on a rock. He was like, there's a little black spot on the sun's today. And then he was just there. He wasn't there anymore. That was it. Kind of peaceful. Hey, man, if that's how I can go in this life, force, you know, fucking ghost me out of this fucking bitch. I don't want no pain. He didn't look like he didn't have any either. Rose is getting fixed up by the Resistance. Finn brought her in and stuff, so she's not dead. Rey finally meets Poe. Finn took her in. Did I say Finn before? I always confuse Finn and Poe. Poe meets Rey for the first time. They didn't meet each other in the last movie and shit like that. Rey, you know, on the Crait reunites with Finn, and that was very sweet because they started this adventure kind of together. And so when she sees him and he sees her, they like genuinely have genuine affection for one another. Deep hug and shit. It was a really warm moment in the movie. In any event, everybody's now Princess Leia, General Leia Organa. They're all on the bridge of the fucking, or, you know, I guess the bridge, I don't know what you call it, of the Millennium Falcon. They're all on the Falcon together and shit. Living to fight another day. And, you know, talking about, like, the Resistance begins. Like, Luke said it. And he's just like, the fucking Resistance isn't dead. It's born anew today. As are the Jedi. For I won't be the last Jedi. And it's fucking Rey and shit. And they are the spark that will ignite the flame that will burn down the First Order. So they didn't kill him at all. The First Order drove him to the brink of non-existence. But they're like, there are others out there. Nobody answered our fucking beacon, jerks. But, like, you know, I feel it. There are people out there, man. Soon there will be an uprising and shit. And they could literally end on the Millennium Falcon with credits and shit. But instead, they go back to the Canto Bight planet. We're taking the Canto Bight where we see 3 kids, the stable kids, who when they let the horses out on Canto Bight, the stable kid at one point was like, I'm going to turn on the alarm. She's like, don't, man, we're with the rebels or the Resistance. And the kid shows he has a Resistance ring and shit. So it's reached out across the galaxy. Everyone hates the fucking First Order. But they're kids. They can't fucking do anything. Except in this instance, they don't fucking tell on the adults who then get away. So you cut back to the stables and you see the 3 kids playing Star Wars with off-brand Star Wars figures and shit. Not licensed. Off-brand. And like, and they're speaking a foreign language. Luke Skywalker. And, you know, you realize, it was kind of moving. You're like, oh, shit. Like, look, these movies have to go somewhere. It can't always be like the Skywalker family and shit. They got to extend and expand the universe. So what they're saying is there are other Force sensitives out there. It's not just fucking Skywalkers and shit like that. And at one point when Kylo Ren is talking to Rey, he's just like, you know, you've always wondered about your past. I know about your past, and you've seen it too, and you know. You're not fucking related to anybody. Your parents were fucking junkies, junk dealers and shit like that. And they left you on that fucking planet. They're not coming back. You're not even a part of this. This is really bold. You're not a part of this story, he says. He says, you mean nothing to anybody. And he says, except to me. Like, you could genuinely tell he cares about her because they share power and shit like that. So, but then, you know, fucking things went south with them. But that was incredible. That, you know, another fuck you Force Awakens moment where you're like, who is Rey's parents? The lineage of Rey, the mystery box that is Rey, has now been solved. And it's like, Rey's just somebody, just like anybody else and shit like that. Not part of the Skywalker lineage, not Ben Kenobi's kid or whatever the fuck. Force sensitive. Just like this kid at the end of the movie. You know, they're playing and shit, and then their boss comes in, big fucking creatures, and they fucking scatter. And the idea is like, go back to work. So the little boy goes outside, and there's a broom leaning on a wall, and he reaches for it, and the broom just goes into his hand. Not even big across the room, just very, like, maybe a couple inches, boop, into his hand. But you're like, oh, this kid's fucking force sensitive. And he's sweeping on the ground, then he looks up at the stars, and he opens up his resistance ring and shit like that. And you close on that kid's face, the future. You know, the resistance goes on. He's not the spark. They were the spark, but they're going to ignite this fire. The only way you end on that movie with this fucking strange kid, I think, is that must be where Ryan's trilogy goes. It must be predicated on maybe that kid himself, and we're going to go off on that adventure. You know, because they said Rian Johnson's going to do his own trilogy that's not part of the saga and has nothing to do with Skywalker's. So maybe that's it. He laid a pretty big seed for where he's taking it. Maybe we'll follow that boy on his adventure or something like that. So in any event, there it is, man. I saw the movie twice. First time, I was beside myself. I was like, oh, delighted. Second time, I went back with Jay, enjoyed it very much, but that's when the fucking writer-director started kicking in. And that's not even writer-director, because I would never make a movie this good on any fucking level. Like, I like watching these movies. I could never make something like this. So that's not me going, I could do this shit better. But when I went back the second time, like anybody else, I'm like, oh, well, now I can see the strings. And, like, it had never occurred to me in the first viewing that Luke literally could have been on Crait. He didn't have to force project himself. At first when I saw it, I was like, oh, right on. And when they revealed he ain't really there, I was like, huh, that's interesting. I wonder what I can do with that information. And then when I watched it the second time, I was like, man, I see no good reason why he literally couldn't been on that planet himself. Like, pew, 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 just fucking fighting shit off. So, you know, that's my big critique. It's not even a critique. I enjoyed the shit out of this movie. I'll see it again. I'll be watching this movie until I die one day. But I would have had Luke be there, man. It was majestic standing there, watch him stand there against the whole First Order, this old man, and to let him fucking Skywalker unleashed. Oh fuck! But they didn't do that. In any event, I dug the movie a lot. There's stuff that I had problems with. I saw some people online were like, "He's a fucking shill for this shit." I ain't a shill. Nobody pays me to like Star Wars. I wish I could get paid to like Star Wars. I'm almost close to figuring that out, but I haven't figured that out yet. I like it because I like it. I like it because I grew up with the shit. You know, I like it because now they make shit with fucking faces and shit on it and whatnot. I always bought that shit when I was a kid, beat by fucking Chef Boyardee, Star Wars fucking noodles and stuff. I love these Star Wars movies. They are my mythology. You know, not mine, somebody else's, but you know, I enjoy them a bunch. That being said, of course, I'm in the bag for movies like that. Doesn't mean I can't look at a movie and be like objectively like, I don't know if I like that moment and shit. But I like the movie a lot, a whole lot. I ain't going to be like, it's here or there in the rankings. Give me a little time to digest and think about where it is. But first time I sat there and watched that movie is one of the best times I had in a movie theater in the last year, if not the last 5 fucking 10 years. And the second time I watched it, I still had a good time watching it with my buddy. He was just like, this is the Star Wars? Like, you know, he was fucking transfixed and shit. But there it is, Last Jedi. Go out and see it. We're almost at an hour and a half. The review is almost as long as the movie. No, it's not, because the movie is 2.5 hours long. So this review is an hour shorter than the actual movie. I don't know what that says about me or the movie. But anyway, Last Jedi, kids. Thanks for hanging out while I talked about it and shit like that. Highlight of the movie for me, though, hands down, oddly enough, is Luke and R2-D2. That hit me right in the fucking core. I was like, this is why we're here. We're on this journey because him and that little droid met. So sweet. I love these movies. I hope they keep making them till the day I die. And guess what? I have no choice. They are going to keep making them. So go out and see Last Jedi, kids. Congrats to Rian Johnson and I forget the name of his co-writer. And everyone that worked on the movie, I thought was fucking hoot. Congrats to Marc like, you know, holy shit, man. More screen time for Mark Hamill is always a great thing. Great to see him as Luke again. Sad, wonderful seeing Carrie again, but sad that, like, that's it. You know, the kids I thought were great. Daisy Ridley's really come into her own and stuff. Compelling lead. The guy who plays Poe, what's his name, Oscar? Fucking fantastic. I love that actor. And Finn too carries a lot of emotional weight in this movie. For the guy who is like the runaway stormtrooper. And the new characters like Rose, really well done and stuff. So they're expanding the universe slowly and being like, look, there's more people than just these fucking 9 fuckers, man. Just like in any world and shit like that. And I'm glad about that. So there it is. That's my review of The Last Jedi. Very long, an hour and a half. Somebody's like, what'd you think of it? I'm like, well, here's my hour and a half response. Go see it as soon as you can, folks. There you go. That's it. I'm going to take off. May the Force be with you. I'm going to go home. I'm going to sit here and eat my fucking pop chips. Not even a commercial. They sent these to me for free, and it was a prop, so I kept holding it up and stuff like that. All right. Thanks for hanging out, folks. May the Force be with you.